What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another video. So today I'm going to do an update on two stocks that I covered over the last few weeks in the form of HITIF, ticker symbol HITIF, and Healthier Choices Management, ticker symbol HCMC. So as I said, I've already made two videos on these two stocks, one about 2 weeks ago and the other last week. I'll link those in the description below. Those videos kind of give more in-depth kind of synopsis of what the company actually does and an overview. So in today's video, I'm going to kind of focus more on catalysts, news, the current price, and in conclusion, if I still believe that these stocks are a buy. With just two things briefly before we get into all of that. Firstly, as always, I am not a financial advisor, so you need to do your own due diligence before investing any of your hard-earned money. And second of all, if you're new around here, it'd be much appreciated if you would consider subscribing to the channel, as we're now only 40 away from my main goal of having 1,000 subscribers. And with all that being said, let's dive right into today's video. So let's start with HCMC, which is Healthier Choice Management Corp. For those of you who are not aware of this company, a very brief overview as we can see on screen. HCMC is a US-based publicly traded company specializing in providing consumers with healthier alternatives to everyday lifestyle choices. So with HCMC, in my opinion, it's more of a speculative play, and 90% of the people, or even more I say, are actually only invested in this company because of the lawsuit with Philip Morris that's currently ongoing. Now, as we will look later at the price, it is extremely low at the moment, so you can buy a lot of shares at very little price. But a lot of people are kind of banking or even waiting more of a speculative play to see if Philip Morris are going to go ahead with counteracting their lawsuit. So a very brief overview, HCMC are currently suing Philip Morris for a patent infringement in one of their vapes, and that's ongoing at the moment. There hasn't been a lot of traction, but there is this news article which suggests Philip Morris are going to fight back. As I said recently in my last video on HCMC, there's literally three outcomes from this lawsuit that can happen. The first two obviously being obvious, with HCMC winning or losing this lawsuit, and the third that a lot of people are actually discussing as well is of Philip Morris actually buying out HCMC, which in my opinion would also drive up HCMC's share price. So this article from last Friday shows that HCMC plunged 25% based off the news, and again it just shows how much this lawsuit will impact this company. It was based off the news that Philip Morris are trying to wash their hands of this lawsuit completely and not even battle it, so they are trying to go through the law system and actually just try to dismiss this case completely. Again, if Philip Morris dismissed this case successfully, this is only going to be disastrous for HCMC, and a lot of people, again, I mentioned that probably about 90% of investors at the moment in HCMC are waiting on the results of this. If it goes south, I do believe the majority of investors will pull out their capital, effectively even forcing the stock price down even more. So Philip Morris are making a counter statement to say that HCMC do not have the grounds or means to make this a lawsuit infringement claim. So if that is the case and Philip Morris are successful, again, the stock price is going to plunge even more. However, this is only a counteracted statement, and this doesn't mean that it's actually set in stone yet. However, because the share price is plunging as well, there's probably a bigger possibility of it kind of closing than actually carrying on. So it's not looking good in my opinion for HCMC at this present moment. OwnSnap.com, they kind of synopsisize or summarize this kind of court case in detail, and they have a very brief summary here as well, which is very important. It kind of sums it all up. So the lawsuit states that one of the vaping products from Philip Morris violates Healthier Choices patent, supposedly, and then investors are possibly hoping that the two parties might reach a settlement, but Philip Morris is trying to get the lawsuit thrown out, as we just discussed, and that is possibly being the reason why investors are no longer feeling as confident regarding this settlement. So that really just goes to show, especially when the stock plunged 25% on Friday, and it also went down on Monday as well. It kind of just goes to show how much investors are banking on this one thing for the company. So they're not actually looking at the fundamentals at all. They're just trying to make a quick buck, which again, I feel that a lot of people are going to get burned. Following on from all that news, HCMC is currently trading at 0.0018 cent per share. We can see on the 1 week chart how much a disastrous effect this lawsuit counteraction claim has had on the company. Over the last week, the stock has fell 52.63%, which is insane. About a week ago, they were sitting at about 0.0039 cent per share. So that's over halved in value just on the last few days alone, mainly based off this counteraction claim from Philip Morris. In my own opinion, I don't believe that Healthier Choice Management is a buy anymore, to be honest. Like, if you'd like if you wanted to put some investment capital into the stock, I'd probably only put 1% at most of your overall available capital into these style companies. So saying that as well, Philip Morris counteraction claim mightn't be successful, but by the sounds of it, it is. So in my opinion, I wouldn't touch this stock. There's definitely a lot more stocks out there that have just as much potential in an upward way instead of a downward way. So for me, Healthier Choice Management, HCMC, unless you got in at the cheaper prices over the last few weeks, currently isn't a buy right now. The second company I want to discuss today, again, the description to more in-depth videos on this company are in the description below, but it is HITIF, ticker symbol HITIF. It's in the cannabis sector within Canada, and I'm a lot more optimistic about this company in comparison to HCMC. The reasons are detailed again in the videos in the description below, but in synopsis, they are very diversified in my opinion, and they have such great celebrity endorsements such as Snoop Dogg, and he's certainly someone you want in this kind of sector as a kind of brand ambassador as such. And the main reasons why I like this company is because firstly, they are very cheap at the moment. We'll go into that later on. And also what I really like is that they're up and coming. They are very diversified as well, and diversification certainly is key in these kind of smaller style companies, and they're ever expanding. Again, we'll go into all of this throughout the video. So the reason why I much prefer HITIF over HCMC is quite simple and obvious, and that's because with HCMC, in my opinion, as I already discussed, they're only based off the lawsuit. There is no fundamentals, in my opinion. Again, a lot of people might think differently, but in my own personal opinion, most people are only invested because of that lawsuit, and you can see already since last Friday, people are jumping out of the stock since Philip Morris are counteracting claims. But with HITIF, I generally believe that as a long-term investor, there is potential here. Again, mainly because it's diversified, its fundamentals are good, and it has a good overall base. And once the kind of laws around cannabis recreational use start to ease, I feel companies such as HITIF have great potential. And a few hours back as well, HITIF had their financial year end Q4 earnings, and we can see on screen that they had a 166% increase in revenue, and they had an adjusted recorded amount of 8 million. So I'm quite surprised firstly that this isn't recorded a lot more in the news. This is the only article I can see as such at the moment for this, but this is very positive news, and we can look into this article a bit more in detail. They have a synopsis or summary of the overall report below. Financial highlights for the fiscal year end 2020. All of these synopsis or summary points are things you want to see in a company. We can see here that the revenue increased by 118% in the fourth quarter and 166% for the year end 31st of October. Gross profits increased 112%. Gross profit margin was up 35%. Like, all of these numbers are good. Geographically, their fourth quarter, 20.6 million of the revenue was earned in Canada. More importantly, 4.1 million in the US and 0.2 million internationally. So the expansion of this company outside of Canada is certainly of added benefit, especially in the US market. And if they continue to do this, the stock price is only going to go up. They also have the likes of the segment-wise. The fourth quarter of 2020, 22.6 million of revenue was generated by retail, 2.2 million by wholesale, and immaterial accounts by corporate. They also have cash in hand as of the 31st of October of 7.5 million. So all of these bullet points here are only of benefit to the company, and I really do feel that they have a lot of potential going forward because they have great groundwork. HITIF is currently trading at about 73 cents per share. Over the last week, we can see it's up 31.5%. This time last week, or Monday of last week, they were at about 55.5 cents a share and currently up to 73. So they're only going in an upward direction, which is great to see as well. However, if you go to the 1 month chart, we can see that they had the highs of about 86 cents a share. So they have consolidated a bit, and they are coming back up in a V-shaped pattern up to about 73 cents again. It's kind of worth noting that after good earnings or reports for year end, the stock price usually does kind of soar as well. And we can see that even is up 17% yesterday alone based off these. So in my opinion, firstly, HITIF would be a buy personally for me. Again, I'm not a financial advisor. You need to do your own due diligence. But for me, HITIF is certainly on my radar for kind of penny stocks or more speculative companies that are safer, in my opinion, to invest in. However, saying that, because they just had their earnings report and it was so positive, I do feel that over the coming days, this 73 cent may kind of bleed out a small bit and go down a small bit in value because it is in hype at the moment. So Personally, if I am going to invest into high tide, which I very well might do, and I will let you know if I do as well, it will probably be towards the end of the week when all this kind of hype settles down a bit. So with all that being said, that kind of brings it into today's video. We had a brief update and overview of HCMC, Health Your Choice Management, and also high tide, ticker symbol HITIF. I also discussed at the end of each of the comparisons and updates if I was going to buy any of these companies. With HCMC, I don't like the company at the moment at all. I just think it's kind of based off hype, which isn't even going well at the moment, so I'm going to stay away from Health Your Choices Management. However, with HITIF or high tide, which I just discussed, I definitely might consider looking into this company and actually start to pick up a few shares. Again, I'll give it a few days until the hype goes away from their Q4 earnings to see if the stock price comes down a little bit. And then I might even buy a few shares. And again, because it's only about 70 something cent a share at the moment, you could pick up even 10 shares for less than $7, which would be about €5 a share, or €5 overall, should I say. So that's nothing in the grander scheme of things. But I will be looking into this company going forward, as I do like HITIF and what they're about. If you found this video anywhere helpful or interesting, it'd be much appreciated, as always, if you consider liking the video. And if you're new, it would be great if you consider subscribing. If you have any questions, comments, queries, or suggestions, please don't hesitate to comment below, and I'll be sure to get back to you as quick as I can. Thanks very much, enjoy your Tuesday, and I will see you all in tomorrow's video.